everything that was out there and everything that we did so far, it was like, how do we health professionals approach the patient? But there was one step, which was before that, before I, as a health professional, think of approaching a patient, I need to do something. I need to turn the mirror on myself first. Am I ready? Do I know how to do that? Am I looking at myself and what's missing in me to even start doing patient approach? Patient approach is not a procedure. It's not a questionnaire. It's connecting one human to the other.
Do you ever have trouble understanding and communicating with your doctor? Do you not know what they talk about? And when you're meeting with your doctor, are they talking to you or with you? My guest is Despina Varaklas, an international world traveling expert on nutrition and health. And we're going to lean into that. And then her whole thing is about breaking down the barriers of communication of healthcare and serving people better. Despina, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good.
Okay, so let's
glad to be here.
So first of all, where are we in the world today?
I am in Jerusalem.
All right, that we can have a whole show on that.
Yeah, that's true.
I love that. So your stand. First of all, what is your stand? What change are you making in the world?
Well, this is my aim. I would like to improve the relationship between health professionals and patients. And my aim is, I've been working on this for more than 20 years now. And I was involved in different associations. I met pioneers in the field, etc. But I always I never felt complete. So I decided at some point to put down all my experience and my knowledge and everything that I've done, and just to boil down to what is missing. What is missing? Why aren't we improving?
Okay.
Right.
Oh, wait.
And
wait. So when you're saying that, this is really important because it's the medical field and it's wide, right? The breadth of it is really, really wide. What you're saying missing? Give me more specific. Missing between patient and doctor?
Right. What was missing that was not, because there are many theories out there on how to approach a patient. There are many approaches, and many people did a lot of steps, but somehow it wasn't breaking the ice. It wasn't really, it was like slow steps, don't make too much noise. This is how we're going to approach it, etc. And I'm thinking, no, there's this huge iceberg that needs to be broken. And so what is it that we're not doing that it's not breaking? And eventually I decided, okay, I cannot work with what's there. I need to create something new that's different. And I did. And I created my own theory, which I call the WIP approach, WWYP, which stands for work with yourself, work with your patient. And this is what was missing, is that everything that was out there and everything that we did so far, it was like, how do we health professionals approach the patient? But there was one step, which was before that, before I, as a health professional, think of approaching a patient, I need to do something. I need to turn the mirror on myself first. Am I ready? Do I know how to do that? Am I looking at myself and what's missing in me to even start doing patient approach? patient approach is not a procedure. It's not a questionnaire. It's connecting one human to the other. So if I have all these shields in front of me, I can never connect to that person. So I need to get rid of all these shields that I have, of all these, I don't know, you can call them shields, you can call them
Barriers.
masks, you can go barriers, whatever, and work on them so that I can start connecting with the human, which is opposite me, the patient. So connecting is not accomplished through instructions. That it doesn't work that way. So this is what my theory is based on, that health professionals need to be trained. They need to go through workshops where they get rid of all these barriers that they have and then start connecting with patients. And if they don't do that, they cannot really connect with patients. And it's not a matter of being kind or being polite or being whatever.
So you're bringing the human element and the connection between doctors and their patients by first
Mhm.
looking at the doctor and saying that, how are you showing up?
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So give us a little bit about your background. What is your expertise?
I am a clinical dietitian and a psychologist by profession. I started working ever since I was very young. I wanted to be a doctor. Anyway, that thing just didn't happen when I started as a teenager, being a volunteer in a hospital. That's where I saw what a doctor does. But of course, my interest in the medical field never stopped. So what I did was that I helped patients with their medical procedures. This is what I did as a volunteer. So I had to take them to the doctor. Many of them did not speak the language, so I had to translate, help them with what they needed to do. And what drew my attention is that every doctor had his own or her own personal attitude, which came from their background, the background at home or the background where they grew up or how educated they were, etc. And this is what came out with the patient. So the result was that one health professional would be polite, the other health professional would be conservative, another one more open, etc. But this had a great effect on the patients because I used to take the patients and take them home. So then I would see the effect of the doctors and health professionals' attitude,
Yeah.
how it affected the patient and what they took home with them. And the reaction, I mean, it affected the whole procedure, the whole compliance of the patient, everything. And I realized that this is not something taught to health professionals. Health professionals do not go through a training of how to behave with the patient, of how to connect with the patient. It just depends on their personal persona. That's it.
What I'm finding
So,
interesting too now is that, so you're talking the human element and you're talking the
yes.
stuff that's getting in their way that they've accumulated all this over time as human beings, and that
Mm-hmm.
is getting between them and serving their patient, because it's about
Right.
serving the patient. What
Yes.
I'm finding interesting is that, again, the field of medicine is really vested in AI now, which again is another step further from the human element,
Mm-hmm.
and in
Yeah.
some great ways. The miracles and the breakthroughs that are coming from being able to have such in-depth research in a blink of an
Mm-hmm.
eye, it's extraordinary where we need
Yeah.
to go with that.
Yeah.
However, what you're saying is going to be exacerbated even more so because the human element is even more removed. So I'm finding that fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It is fascinating. And a lot of patients, when they have bad experience with their health professionals, They say, great, I can do this from home through the computer. That's even better.
Right.
Which in fact, it's not.
So when it comes to, because there's all ways, and I love that the international approach, we won't have time for that today, but that'll be another show. So
Okay.
the piece is that statistics or from your work, when a doctor is open, when a doctor is vulnerable, when a doctor is there to meet the patient where they're at, what is the improvement in healthcare and the wellness of the patient?
Definitely, the wellness of a patient is very much increased. Anything that touches the humane part and the spiritual part of the patient. There are many studies, for example, that have been done where they show that people, when they include faith during their therapy, they do a lot better. Because when somebody is at a weak point, like in disease, for example, or illness, they need strength. And the machine cannot give you strength. I mean, you do your tests and then you see the results. And if the results are better, okay, you feel better, you feel stronger. But you need, somebody to be able to connect with, to be able to talk to. And this is why family is very important. But the health professionals need to be family at that point. They need to act like family. And they have so much pressure with all the system and all the patients that they have. And, but this is where this comes in. They need a specific training to be able to bring out the human part of them and pass it on to the patient in the correct way.
Hold that thought, because on the other side, working with doctors and that the healthcare system, particularly in the United States, that's what I'm talking about, that I know, is very overwhelmed. And that doctors are the first students are not going back into the field. Doctors are stressed, overwhelmed pre-COVID and now post-COVID. And it's just one more thing. So when you're talking, right, and the doctors are out there saying, are you kidding me? I barely have time to get what I need done just to meet the minimum, that there's so much on me. What do you say to them? Where is this breakthrough for them?
Well, this is exactly where this comes in, because when you do the correct approach with the patient, that directly affects the diagnosis. If you do not have the correct approach and you do not provide the correct platform where the patient can actually be open and speak, you're probably not going to be spot on the right diagnosis. You're going to have a diagnosis that's not going to be complete. And that's going to cost. That has a cost. I mean, procedures are going to be longer. You're going to find out things about the patient down the line, and you're going to say, I wish I knew this earlier about the patient. So what you want to do is have a diagnosis of the person, not a diagnosis of the disease. This is very important, because if you have the diagnosis of the person right from the beginning, then the rest of the road is a lot more clear. But if you only concentrate on the diagnosis of the disease, and later you're trying to discover the person who has the disease, you're making things a lot more complicated and the road, longer.
So then, all right, within that, let's do a role play. What would it look like? I'll be the patient. What would it look like?
Okay.
And so this doesn't need to be lengthy. It just needs to be a different approach of communicating, right?
Right. And at the beginning, it for them to learn, I always say that in the workshops, that it takes a little bit of time, but eventually it becomes fast.
Okay.
When you learn, it becomes fast, and it's really worth it.
I'm gonna come in for, let's just be a general practitioner. I'm coming in for my annual, right? We have
Mm-hmm.
a panel done, this and that and stuff. I'm sitting in front of you. I got my gown on, which I'm not comfortable. It's probably cold, right? It's always cold in doctor's
Mm-hmm.
office. And I'm nervous. So my blood pressure's up a little bit because I'm in the doctor's office, and no offense, doctors, but no one really likes to be.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I do like my doctor in California, Dr. Shaw. I love you.
Mm-hmm.
She's
Mm-hmm.
fabulous. Because she does connect. She does know me. And there we go.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what does that look like? I'm kind of, so you're coming in, right? I'm seated, I'm
Yes.
ready to go. And you walk in and say, hi, Maureen. What would it look like, your approach?
Well, I just want to make a parenthesis here that all approaches until now use role play. The whip approach disagrees with role play. Why? Because everything that we do, even the way you're moving your hands, even the way you're, leaning front toward the camera, it all pours out from your emotional state at this moment.
Okay.
Correct? All right. So I can imitate your hands. I can imitate your moves. I can imitate the words that you say by repeating what you're saying, but I cannot imitate your emotional state. I have no idea what your emotional state is. Of course, I do after we start talking. So this is why if the whip approach workshops do not promote role play. There is no role
Give us
play.
a taste, though.
A case. I can give you example which I've given in another interview, but that's all right because this is without breaking uh, the ethics rule of confidentiality. I had a patient once, and she came in, and it was obvious that she wanted to lose weight because she
Okay.
was obese. And she said, I'm coming in, I want to lose weight, etc. So um, she told me that she's been trying to lose weight forever. She tried different diets with different people. She goes to the gym, etc. And then she got referred to me and she came in, and I jotted down the basic information of what I needed to know. And then I started talking to her and trying to reach her. And within a couple of minutes after we started talking, she said, I want to stop you right here. And I want to tell you something that I only discuss with my psychiatrist. And I said, what's that? She said, I've been an abused child and an abused wife. Okay, so what this did is that it completed my diagnosis. The diagnosis was totally different. Had I not have had this piece of information, I would just have given a diet regimen. She would have walked out of my office with a diet regimen, and it would have been just a repeat for her, whatever she did so far. But when she said that, I knew that my approach had to be different. The treatment was definitely different. We had to go another route, and giving her a diet was definitely not a therapy at that point. It would not have done anything. And the thing is that first of all, she probably knew that this thing was connected to her weight,
She
but
said
she
so.
didn't know how.
Right, right.
Right. She didn't know how. But my obligation was to bring her to a point to be open enough to say that, to reveal it, and let the rest for me to do.
Okay.
So this is how.
The way could have been something that she was actually holding on to protect
Right.
herself, right? To keep
Yes.
people
Yes.
away.
Yes.
And so it was being held versus
Mm-hmm.
simply just being there. Ah,
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I get
Yeah.
that. And so then I love that. All right, there we go. Right. And then you created a space of trust that
Yes.
allowed her to share this that normally she
Mhm.
would not have.
Right. Right.
All right. I'm loving this. We're getting, we're this can keep going. I want to do the international too. So, all right, let me ask you, Despina, what is it like to
Mhm.
work with you? How can people get in touch with you? And who are you speaking to? Who's your audience?
Um, well, of course, my audience when I speak, when I do my talks, uh, and I talk about this theory, it's healthcare professionals. They could be doctors, they could be dietitians, they could be psychologists, nurses. We all need to learn how to approach the patient.
But okay, always looking at it from a different angle. The other
Mhm.
side of the coin, though,
Yes.
is that when working with groups and
Mhm.
organizations, and I'm thinking seniors and things like that, could you not
Mhm.
then actually flip it to empower the patients?
Yes, yes, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. That's also, and I have done workshops like that. And actually, my very first workshop was at a diabetes camp with children.
Oh,
And that was the first workshop that gave me such an empowerment because I only did like a half an hour workshop with them, but the results were so great. It's like, okay, I'm on the right track. You know, yes, because a lot of uh, patients sometimes, as we were talking with, artificial intelligence, they sort of put themselves in a comfortable corner so that they don't take more responsibility because um, when I go to the doctor and I need to do something, I share the responsibility of the result. And I need to do my part of the work. So, and a lot of people, they don't mind getting instructions. They don't mind asking less questions. So they have less responsibility and less homework. So, and this is one thing that we do with the workshops that we all need to understand that we have responsibility for doing our part in the therapy process.
okay. So I'm going to leave you with this question.
Mhm.
Why do you do what you do? What drives you?
What drives me? Well, I discovered that it was sort of planted in me ever since I was 3 years old. But I cannot the decision or the phrase that came up in my mind when that happened when I was just 3 years old is that nobody has the right to treat a sick person this way. I was in front of a bed of a patient and I didn't like what I saw. And this was just something that started with me. And I feel for the patient and we need to hug the patient, we need to help the patient because health is the most precious commodity that we have. And if we are health professionals, we need to help the patient get it back.
At the end of the day,
But
this is better medicine. You will get better results from this.
yes, yes, definitely. And it's also, there's more patient satisfaction with it, and the financial part is a lot better if you connect with the patient. Definitely. You have a more cooperative patient, you have a more compliant patient. And when the patient is not compliant and not happy, that's costly. It costs money.
Better for the bottom line too, which at the end of the day,
Yes,
that is always a factor.
yes, yes.
Despina, thank you for coming on today. Okay, so how can people
Thank
get in
you.
touch with you? I'm gonna have your website down there. What does that look like?
Yes.
Are you working on a workshop, or is there, tell us how people can get in touch with you.
Well, it's definitely through my website. It's my name, despinavaraklas.com. So if you have the link, yes, there's a contact me there. I'm on LinkedIn as well. So any way that they could just send me a message and I'll call them back. We can set up an appointment or, a chat and we'll go from there.
Okay, all right, Despina, great to have you on. I love your mission, and everybody check out the website. We're going to work to get a free gift on there. That'll be coming. And again, get in touch with Despina, whether it's, you're advocating for someone you love or yourself, any of the healthcare professionals. Take a look. We can always get to improve, especially as AI moves forward and becomes even more dehumanized. So, new is not always better. All right, till next time, everybody, thank you so much. And all right, thanks for being here.